Welcome back. Members of the cattle industry know how much time and effort it takes to care for the land and the animals they raise. But that perspective is often not shared by others who are disconnected from the cattle industry. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter has more on a program designed to help ranchers and cattle feeders tell their story.
Cattlemen and women play a key role in feeding the world, and they work hard to do it. But many consumers struggle to understand how beef is produced or who produces it. That's why it's important for ranchers and cattle feeders to take an active role in connecting with consumers and telling the story of responsible beef production.
You don't have to be a professional speaker to do this. You have to be able to shake people's hands, look them in the eye, ask them some questions about what they're interested in, and relate to them on a human basis. It really is as simple as having a conversation, and no one can have that conversation about your role in the cattle business as well as you can.
Michelle Payne-Canoper works with farmers and ranchers to help them learn the best ways to engage with consumers. It's part of Merck Animal Health's Responsible Beef campaign. The program was launched in May of 2013 with a vision for empowering cattle feeders to spread their message of responsible beef production.
When I look at the Responsible Beef Initiative, it's about empowering cattlemen to take their future in their hands, whether it's for their children, their grandchildren, whatever it may be, and really just helping them understand that, look, I understand the culture of agriculture is modesty and independence and stubbornness, but that doesn't bode well when you need to have a conversation about what you're doing on the farm. So it's about helping future generations overcome some of those challenges that we've had in the past and sharing our message effectively.
We really felt it was important for producers to find their voice and to tell their story. It's the people who are actually taking care of the cattle, taking care of the lands, supporting their communities, and building their businesses.
As Merck Animal Health discussed ideas for the program, 4 areas of responsibility became top of mind: your cattle, your land, your community, and your business.
When we talk about cattle, I mean, it's everything we do to care for the cattle and well-being and care and animal health and looking after the animals to make sure they're comfortable and happy. Then we look at land, and we're not making any more land. And we all know that if we don't take care of this land, it's not going to take care of us. We can pass it down to future generations. Then we have communities. Communities kind of is my favorite because it really starts with family. And when you look at the cattle industry, it's focused on family. And then the next thing would be employees. And the interesting thing about employees is most employees are customers too, because they enjoy a good steak and a good hamburger as a meal also. And then you start looking at local communities. You have local communities. It's the hardware store, it's the feed store, it's your barber. It's all the people in your local community that your business supports. Business is the most important, I think, though, because if you don't have a successful business, if your business isn't sustainable, these other things don't really matter. And so a lot of people are worried about talking about business and making money, but really it's pretty important to anybody that you were able to turn that dollar over and keep your business going.
My challenge always, whether I'm working with cattlemen, whether I'm working with grain producers, or whether I'm working with scientists, is to simply find an opportunity to tell your story. And that's why I wrote No More Food Fights. When you look at the book and you consider the opportunity to really reach across the plate, in my mind, that's where our opportunity lies, is in the conversation. When Merck invited me to be a part of the Responsible Beef Initiative, it was a lot of fun because the 4 pillars aligned with No More Food Fights and many of the things that I had covered in the book. To me, it's about being proactive, because if you only react, that will be the reference point from which people operate. Whereas if you're proactive and you stand up and you simply share a picture on Facebook, or you have a conversation in your church parking lot about, hey, this is what we're doing this week and this is why, people start seeing inside the lives of cattle producers and they realize that they're good people.
Welcome back. We're glad to have you with us. Let's return to Nebraska and reporter Brian Baxter with more about the key elements of the Responsible Beef Program.
The program began with a series of workshops across the U.S. The workshops included education in both large group settings and with small group hands-on discussions and training. Participants included cattle feeders, veterinarians, and nutritionists, all coming together to learn how to better tell their stories of responsible beef production.
Well, we've had responsible beef workshops in the Panhandle of Texas, in Kansas, in Nebraska, and Iowa, really in the heart of cattle feeding country. Well, the workshops really came about to help people understand these 4 pillars and also give them a chance to learn how to find their voice.
My hope is that they're armed with the tools to go home and have an effective conversation about agriculture, not only about the cattle business, but really about many of the issues that are happening around the plate.
It really helps nutritionists and veterinarians that are working closely with their customers to have that voice also. It's interesting to even think about a nutritionist. You know, really they're a cow dietitian. That came out in one of our workshops, and you just saw the nutritionist all of a sudden go, wow, you know, that's right, I'm the same. And so they can really relate to a dietitian at a hospital or something like this, where they can have a really cool conversation about beef.
The website responsiblebeef.com was also launched. It connects cattle feeders through feed yard specific articles, product information, and tools for their trade. The goal is for cattle feeders to feel empowered to discuss their production practices, learn new industry information, and understand Merck Animal Health's commitment to the cattle industry.
We talk about what people are doing kind of cool in their cattle feeding operations across the country. So, and we have all the pillars there. We talk about cattle, we talk about land, we talk about community, we talk about business. And so it supports all those pillars, and we rotate new stories in. It's really a way to provide people some ideas on how they would talk to maybe their target audience.
The Responsible Beef campaign has been a success with crowded workshops and eager, engaged participants. Merck Animal Health plans to keep providing cattle feeders with the tools they need to spread the positive message of the beef industry.
It's been very, very positive. People said, you know, I haven't realized that I needed to really focus on talking to somebody and relating with somebody before I go into talking to them about beef. And I think that was the biggest learning part. One of my favorite things from the workshop that I've learned is it's not what you say, it's how you make people feel is what they remember.
My measure of success is if they're doing something differently in a month from now. If they're out there and they're reaching their hand out, whether it would be in a local pub, whether it would be when they're with their extended family at Thanksgiving, or if they're even sharing a photo on Facebook, and simply saying, hey, this is what I did and this is why, that's a huge win. Again, it's about the heart-to-heart connection, and it's about the personal conversations.
Well, I think the best thing about having cattlemen tell the story is that they have a lot of value, and they're the people actually having their boots dirty. If it was me telling the story, it wouldn't mean anything. But it's the people who are actually taking care of the cattle, taking care of the lands, supporting their communities, and building their businesses.
Reporting from Omaha, Nebraska, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
For more information on the Responsible Beef campaign, check out their website at responsiblebeef.com.